Welcome back to my spring gobbler hunting series. This video is going to be a brief discussion on scouting for turkey. Going along with the theme of this series, this is going to be geared more towards someone who is just starting out with turkey hunting, although I'm sure it can be useful to anybody. With any serious hunt or life in general for that matter, you've got to do some prep work, otherwise your success is going to be more based on luck than skill. The same is true for turkey hunting. We want to know beforehand where our turkeys are and what their approximate routines are at different times of the day. Where do they roost, where do they strut, etc. We don't just want to pick the first field that we come across and set up shop, because more often than not, you're probably not going to call any turkeys in. So the first thing you've got to do is identify what areas you can hunt. Do you have permission to hunt any private property? That would be my first choice. Where are the closest public game lands to you? Choose wisely, because they can be very overpopulated and pressured, but they can also yield pretty good sized birds too if you find the right one. Once you determine the areas you can hunt and that are close enough for you to get to easily, because you're going to have to go a couple times to scout, it's time to use some satellite imagery and take a look at each of these areas. If you've got a handheld GPS, that'd be my first recommendation, because these usually have tools and software that are going to give you a lot more options than just a third-party site. But a 3D mapping program like Google Earth will suffice. I'm kind of spoiled after having using DeLorme software, but you can get by with Google Earth and Google Maps, things like that. But what you want to do is you want to take a look at the terrain beforehand, because you may be able to rule out some areas if they're particularly steep or something like that. So it's good to take a look at the satellite imagery before you actually go out to these different areas. Take a few minutes and take a look at the different maps and highlight some areas that have open fields, woodlands without really steep terrain, water sources, etc. Based on where you live and what the weather is like, turkeys may not be in their spring routines, as we'll call it, until very close to the start of the season. And turkeys very commonly roost in different locations in winter and can travel quite a distance from where their winter roost location is to where their spring roost location is. And that has to do with the type of sources of food that they've got. So going out in January isn't going to be very helpful 4 months later in April when everything's green and not covered in snow. So in my state, the starting time of spring season is based around when the hens will start the incubation process. A particularly warm, late winter, early spring may start the process beforehand, or vice versa. If the winter is colder, it may start till later on. And as it turns out, the latter was the case this year. It was really cold. Things really haven't warmed up till the past 2 or 3 weeks or so. So this likely has pushed back the breeding a little bit, which means a lot more of the hens probably still aren't bred. So that in turn means that the gobblers are going to be getting after it a little bit more so than they might be usually. But this is good for us in this case. So I strongly suggest you take a look at your state's approximate incubation start date. Most of the wildlife resource websites will tell you what the approximate incubation date is. For Pennsylvania, it was April 28th, I believe, and the season starts on the 27th this year, so that makes sense. But there's a lot of good information usually on your state's wildlife management unit website, so definitely check that out. Anyhow, once you've identified approximately where, or I should say when, the turkeys start their spring routine, as I called it, you can use these spots that you've highlighted, and you want to check those out, start looking for sign. So you want to check fields for tracks, droppings, wing drag marks from strutting gobblers. Feathers are always a good sign for roost locations. If you find droppings under trees with feathers, you've probably located a roost tree. Those are most commonly usually large oak and pine trees because it's got big branches. The birds can easily fly up into the trees, so we want to keep an eye out for those. Keep in mind, usually the turkeys will roost very close to their water source as well. But you want to make note of all this different sign and try to put the big picture together later. So if you've got a map or a GPS, go home, take a look at all the different signs that you found, and try to put the puzzle together, as it were, to figure out what their typical routine is. You know, you can check power lines are another good area because the clear cut is usually a good place for them to strut, as are logging roads. If you can post up next to a really big field, sit on a hilltop or something like that, and you can kind of glass the whole field, cover a wide area at once, similar to what I talked about with the trail camera. But it's a good way to cover a lot of ground. Another thing you can do as you do start getting up closer to that season is you can use a call like a locator call. This is a crow call, or you can use an owl call as well at different times of the day. But you can use these to get turkey to shot gobble, and I've done that before. I'll inlay a clip a little bit later if I have one of those in one of the hunts. Word of caution though with using calls, do not attempt to call in a turkey before the season. There's absolutely no reason to wise up the birds before you're out there with your shotgun. If you're on public land, don't worry, there's going to be plenty of other idiots that are calling these birds, throwing every call at the book at them. So don't wise these turkeys up that you're going to be hunting any sooner than you have to. So make a list of your top 5 to 10 places or so and have a game plan. Knowing the turkey's behavior beforehand will save you a lot of time and greatly increase your chances of bagging a bird and avoiding eating a tag sandwich. Having a buddy help can be great because you can divide and conquer, and that's what I've done with my friend Bone Hunter. He's taken one area of state game lands, I've taken another, and we've split it up. So between the two of us, we've identified multiple areas with sign, we've used locator calls, and we've got shot gobbles, and we've actually even captured some trail camera images, which I'll inlay, of birds, just some of them. So the cool thing is, once you know approximately where you are, then you can put the trail camera, or where they are, then you can put the trail camera up, and that's when you can get a lot of pictures. You just want to have a game plan so you know where you want to be the first couple days of the season, unless you've got private land access. But having a game plan and having a priority list of locations is definitely going to increase your chances. So optimally for this video, I would have liked to have made it a lot longer and show you all the scouting that I did. But honestly, it would have been way too long of a video. I've probably been out, with the exception of 2 days for sure, every single day that I've had off the past month and a half. And I filmed a lot of it. I've located birds. We've spotted birds on game cameras, checking those every weekend, going through thousands of pictures on the trail camera on a 5-minute interval. Is a lot of pictures when you're taking it over a 14-hour span. But they're simply too much. So what I decided to do was just kind of give this brief version of this scouting, just with the big picture ideas of what I did to scout. What I'm going to do is, as I post the videos of the different days that I go out to hunt, since I have 2 tags and I'll probably be out with other people hunting, possibly before or definitely after I get rid of my tags, I will discuss the scouting that was done after I show the video of the hunt for that particular hunt. So that's it for me right now, guys. It's the day before spring gobbler in Pennsylvania, and I'm freaking pumped up, guys. So I hope you are too. That's it for now. Hopefully I'll see you in a couple days with a couple less tags. Stay safe. This is No More Up For. I'm out.